Hey everyone, and welcome back. Hope you're having a fantastic day so far. So the Republican presidential primary race is heating up, and of course, as always, Social Security is always just one of those big key issues, and it seems like it's going to impact every race moving forward. So we're going to be looking at where some of the key contenders stand on the issue of that program. Also, another bill released this year would increase benefits for Social Security beneficiaries every single year by a certain amount. We're going to be going over what that amount is and the likelihood of this bill actually passing. But before I go ahead and dive into the main content of today's video, if you wouldn't mind helping me out real quickly by just giving this video a like, that just helps out with the good old YouTube algorithm, and also consider subscribing to my channel if you have not already. Okay, so the Republican presidential primary race is beginning to heat up. Of course, right now we do have the former president and Donald Trump being the front runner. A lot of people thought that Ron DeSantis might be able to give him a good run for his money, but polling is showing that Donald Trump is just absolutely blowing every other candidate out of the water. But let me know what your thoughts are on that in the comment section below. If you're going to vote in the primary, are you leaning more towards Trump? Are you leaning more towards DeSantis? Or would you rather see none of them win, or maybe another candidate other than those top two? But of course, a lot of talk has been involved around Social Security. That is one of the key issues, and it could really swing voters either way, especially those voters who are getting closer to their retirement age. Because we do have some talk, unfortunately, about raising the full retirement age from 67 up to 70. We would hope that would be something that would not happen, but there are talks about that. So we're going to be talking about where some of the key candidates are on these Social Security issues. So according to CNBC, as Republican contenders start to line up for the White House in 2024, Social Security may be a key issue. So last November's midterm elections were expected to bring a so-called red wave of wins for Republican candidates, but ultimately voters gave Democrats an edge in some of the most competitive congressional districts. One deciding factor was candidates' messages around Social Security and Medicare, which helped sway voters, particularly those ages 50 and up, according to an analysis from AARP following the November 8th election. Former President Donald Trump and Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, who thus far are in the lead in the Republican polls, have so far pledged not to touch the program. Donald Trump said back in January that under no circumstances should Republicans vote to cut a single penny from Medicare or Social Security to help pay for Joe Biden's reckless spending spree. In March, DeSantis told Fox News that, quote, "We're not going to mess with Social Security as Republicans." Their position matches that of President Joe Biden, who during the State of the Union prompted both sides of the aisle to agree that the program is off the books. Now, of course, Donald Trump and Ron DeSantis in their past had very different views on Social Security and potentially cuts to the program or raising of the full retirement age. We see this with a lot of lawmakers, right? With different issues. Maybe 5 or 10 years ago, they'll say something completely different to what they're saying now, just because of what their opinion now is extremely unpopular. So it's not really a surprise that people like Trump and DeSantis are now backing off that issue. And of course, even when Joe Biden was in Congress, he was pretty much for freezing federal spending and sunsetting different programs like Social Security and ending them where they would have to be renewed, let's say, every 5 years. But now he's all of a sudden this pro-Social Security guy, right? Just because obviously if he were to come out and say that he wanted to end Social Security, he probably would not be the president right now, or at least the Democratic candidate. So obviously with different issues, we see politicians change sides, lying every single day, not really much of a surprise. But like I said, right now it does look like Trump is probably going to win as the Republican candidate in pretty much any poll that we look here from Real Clear Politics. Even in the poll that polls the worst for Trump, the CNN one, he's still up by 27 points. And yes, whether you're happy about it or not, looks like we're going to have a rematch of Joe Biden and Donald Trump in 2024. Of course, we do have the first debate coming up in August, and then the first primary is coming up in February of next year. So that's something that we'll definitely have to keep an eye out on. Now, there's actually one Republican candidate who has no chance of winning, but he does have an interesting change to Social Security, which would increase benefits by a large margin for a lot of Americans whether or not this thing would actually pass, whether or not we could get both sides of the aisle on board with it, we would have to wait and see. But basically, they would get rid of the FICA tax, the 6.2 to 12.4% that you contribute from each paycheck, and instead you would actually be paying 10%. So you'd be paying more out of each paycheck, but he's saying that you would actually receive more come your retirement age. So instead of receiving, let's say, like $2,000 per month, instead you could potentially earn up to like $10,000 per month. Now, that might be a dream, a pipe dream, but that's kind of the plan that he wants. Now, some other ideas that are currently going on that are actually in the form of a bill and actually have a chance of passing is this one bill by John Garamendi. So he's actually recommending that each and every year we should be having higher cost of living adjustments, that the COLAs that seniors are receiving, that Social Security beneficiaries are receiving, are not nearly high enough. And I actually have another measurement that each and every year is actually higher. And in this measurement, it actually includes a basket of goods and services that much more closely relate to what people on Social Security actually spend. So why they're not actually using this model is beyond a lot of people, but he is saying that we should be switching to this model. And he does have it in the form of a bill. They tried to pass it in the last Congress. They never ended up doing so. So now he is reintroducing this bill in 2023. So you can see on his website here, John Garamendi reintroduces the Fair COLA for Seniors Act. So today, Congressman John Garamendi introduces the Fair COLA for Seniors Act of 2023. This bill will require Social Security to use the Consumer Price Index for the elderly to calculate a fair cost of living adjustment for seniors. The bill would increase benefits and ensure that cost of living adjustments in Social Security reflect the real rising cost for seniors and disabled Americans. And according to the National Committee to Preserve Social Security and Medicare, seniors spend a significant portion of their income on out-of-pocket health care expenses not covered by Medicare. As time goes by, more and more of their Social Security benefit checks will be eaten up by rising health care costs. According to the Medicare trustees, 40% of the average senior Social Security check will be consumed by Medicare out-of-pocket costs by 2095, compared with 23% in 2021. They go on to say that from 1982 to 2014, the average annual increase for the experimental CPIE was 2.9%, compared to 2.7% for the CPIW. Using the CPIE to determine the Social Security COLA would increase the expected average COLA by about 0.2 percentage points per year. So again, this bill by John Garamendi, it would change the way in which the COLAs are calculated over from the CPIW method over to the CPIE method. And again, the CPIE method is supposed to track what people on Social Security actually spend, what seniors actually spend on. So why they're not using that really doesn't make much sense. Instead, they're using a model in which urban wage earners spend on. So, it doesn't really make sense why they're using that model for Social Security beneficiaries. But again, at 0.2%, you may think that's really not all that much. I mean, it's not even like 2%, which we have some other bills suggesting there should be a 2% increase right away. But, over time, it really snowballs. So up on the screen, I'm going to post a chart. It's just going to be kind of a theoretical example. So let's say that you start out receiving $1,500 and you receive 0.2% more by using the CPIE rather than the CPIW. You're actually going to be receiving $3 more every single month, or $36 more every single year. And the next year, again, you're going to be receiving $3 more per month. That's going to boost your payment up to $72 more per year. And then the fourth year, you're going to be receiving $144 more per year. The eighth year is going to, of course, be $288 more per year. So as you can see, as time goes by, even though 0.2% more in your COLA doesn't seem like much in the first year, over time it really snowballs and it accumulates, and you actually receive a lot more benefits over time. So in my opinion, this is a really great bill, and I think they should try to at least vote on it and see if you can pass. Of course, the downside, as the Social Security Intelligence website says, is that back in 2022, if they had actually used the CPIE method rather than the CPIW method, the COLA would have been actually 1.1% lower. So instead of receiving a 5.6% increase back in 2022, instead it would have only been 4.5%. So of course, in some years, the CPIW might actually be higher than the CPIE, but over time, the CPIE on average has actually been a good bit higher by 0.2%. Now we can take a look at the bill on congress.gov. We can see that this year so far it has 27 co-sponsors. They are all Democrats, no Republican support. But back in 2021, when it was first introduced, it had 54 co-sponsors, and one of them actually happened to be a Republican. That Republican was Brian Fitzpatrick. So it is very possible that they could bring some moderate Republicans on board with this bill. Now, I really got to question why they didn't vote on it in the last Congress when Nancy Pelosi was the House Speaker and the Democrats had a huge majority in the House. The Democrats really could have passed this bill through the House if they wanted. Whether or not it actually got through the Senate is hard to say, even though the Democrats did have a slim majority with Kamala Harris being the tiebreaker. It just makes you question whether either side of the aisle really wants to help Social Security beneficiaries out. Again, they had a lot of these bills that would favor Social Security in the last Congress where Democrats had a majority. So Democrats can't say now in 2023 that they're not passing these bills because Republicans had the majority now, because they had a chance back in 2021, 2022 to pass some of these bills, at least to the House, but they failed to even vote on them. So you really got to question which party, if any, actually has the backs of Social Security recipients. But let me know what your thoughts are on that in the comment section below. Let me know what your thoughts are on this bill. Do you like it? Do you hate it? Are you somewhere in the middle? Always interested in reading your thoughts in the comment section below. But that's all the news that I have for today's video. I certainly hope that you enjoyed. If you did, again, I would greatly appreciate if you could give this video a like. Consider subscribing to my channel if you have not already. And I will see you in the next video.